My pleasure to introduce the speaker today. And it should be, I was on the committee that hired her, so I have some skin in this game. Dr. Jennifer Coyle became the 18th president of City University on July the 1st, 2022. She became the third female president, of which the last three have been females. So times have really changed. Most recently, she was the Dean of Southern California College of Optometry at Marshall B. Ketchum University. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in 1990, Doctor of Optometry in 1993, Master of Science in Vision Science in 2000, all from Sept University. She also completed a residency in contact lenses in 1993-94 at Pacific and taught in the College of Optometry starting in 1994. She served as Associate Dean from 2006 to 2008, and then was Dean of the College of Optometry from 2008 to 2019. She brings nearly 30 years of experience in higher education, healthcare, and leadership at the University of Pacific, where she's an alum, parent, former professor, and a dean. She comes at a difficult time for universities, probably unprecedented in the history of American universities, with declining numbers of students graduating from high school means a declining market for all colleges in America. And at the same time, where we have had a significant number of students in the health professions, COVID has thrown that on its head, and I suspect you're going to hear a word or two about that from her. An unprecedented, difficult time, but she's ready.
Evening. I'm ready because my grandfather used to call me Jennifer Jones. So that brought back memories to me. Yes. And I didn't know who she was because I was a little kid and Jennifer Jones was a grown-up and I, wish to have emulated her. Thank you. Well, it's lovely to be back in front of the Rotary, and I thought our thought for the day was particularly poignant. Sometimes this doesn't want to listen to me. Yeah,
Rebecca tested it.
I know she did. And it always works when she tests it. I know when I do. Maybe we'll just go the old-fashioned route. It's not working either. Today is International Day of Peace. I don't know if you all knew that, but the United Nations have declared it. So I'm going to add to the thought, which I'm doing this one, right? Thank you. I'm going to add to the thought of the day and remind you all of the mission of Pacific University. And really, I'm shortening it to the action part, and that is every day we strive to inspire our students to think, care, create, and pursue justice in our world. And speaking of caring and pursuing justice, I thought I'd give you an update on where we ended up with the vaccine clinics. And as I'm sure you know, and Leslie probably shared when she last visited, that we had partnered with the county and actually became a regional site for vaccinations, the COVID-19 vaccine. In total, our students and our faculty and our staff facilitated and provided 14,000 injections. It's incredible. And I watched it all from down south where we had trouble getting enough vaccines in California. We had trouble getting tests. We waited extremely long, 3-hour lines for every injection, and I was so proud of what was happening up here. So I really want to give a shout out to all my colleagues at Pacific because this is truly an example of how we live our mission. So you heard that, times are a little bit difficult right now as a president. This morning I met with the National University of Naturopathic Medicine, and they are facing equal challenges because we all rely on the same student pool for all of our programs. And There are changes happening, but I am extremely hopeful for the future because we're 173 years old and we know what we're doing at Pacific. We know what we believe in at Pacific, and we have incredibly smart, creative, innovative, and dedicated people here. So I have complete faith that every step we take will lead us to the right place, and we will hopefully be hosting the Rotarians for another 173 years here on our campus. So I'm just going to share some of the things that I've been up to, some of the things that are happening at Pacific. You're getting kind of a hodgepodge of things, whatever I thought would be interesting. I've been in my role now not quite 3 months, and I had the most luxurious transition ever because Leslie Halleck was one of my mentors, and fortunately, I had the ability to meet with her anytime I needed to on Zoom. We probably met several times a week from when the announcement first came out at the beginning of February all the way up until I came back to Pacific on June 13th. And then we've continued to meet. In fact, I just talked to her the other day. So it's been a lot of fun. And I know I always have this trusted advisor who can give me the backstory on everything and give me advice. I am really relying on our community to tell me what is it that they need me to know as we face these unprecedented challenges. And fortunately, people at Pacific are very comfortable telling people what they think. And I appreciate that. I learned from a lot of them. I worked alongside a lot of them I taught. And now I get to be the advocate for amazing individuals like Stewart here. So I'm asking everyone through my version of a listening tour that I've dubbed the conversation about community, and I want everyone to be thinking about our Pacific experience in all the different forms of community. For some, it's in their department, it's in the college, it's on the campus that they're located on, it might be in their specific discipline. And I'm asking everyone to share what is it that you're most proud of, which for me is really my speak for what should I not mess up. What do we need to retain at Pacific? What needs to change? I know that things need to change. I'm very much a change agent. I don't care who moves my cheese. I enjoy thinking about doing things differently and trying new things and learning what we can from that experience. So I want people to be really comfortable and candid with me. And I found that's actually been the hardest part of these conversations. People, maybe, I don't know if they don't want to bum me out over my day, but I'm hearing more positive, believe it or not, than I am hearing the negative. Of course, there are a lot of needs and a lot of competing demands for resources. So I think collectively we should make decisions as a community of what should be our priority, particularly the first couple of years. And as you can imagine, salaries seem to rise to the top of those conversations, and that probably is in every single one of your industries. I know businesses are all facing the same challenges for maintaining workforce and properly compensating our people, and also helping people understand how valued they are, especially after surviving such traumatic and dramatic times where people are working harder, smarter, and different than they ever had before. And so we're talking about prioritization primarily from the first couple of years. What should I really be thinking about right now? And then I do want to tap into the wealth of experience that we have on all of our campuses and beyond. I've been talking to alumni and friends as well, and collecting innovative and creative ideas so that we can continue to tackle big problems and come up with innovative solutions to new challenges, just like we've been doing for 173 years. Right now, we are in the midst of a new initiative that I proposed that we called a Year of Wellness in Action. And really, it's a way to bring people together to talk about wellness in new ways, but ideally to really instill a sense of community around learning how to better take care of ourselves and how we can actually take steps and act in a way that might help others take care of themselves. So we've split the year into 4 themes, and right now in the months of September and October, we're in the midst a focus on social and cultural health. And all that means anti-racism, understanding accessibility issues. I have chosen to spend 21 days where each day I read something, listened to something, watched something, talked about something around gender identity so that I could learn more and understand what it is that my community members are facing around issues related to gender. Some people have chosen to focus on learning about a new culture or understanding a new point of view. So we're encouraging people to spend time, at least the first 21 days of each of the themes, really delving in and focusing on literacy in the particular topic. And then we have some conversation groups around the themes, and people are just talking about what they learned. We're sharing resources on the President's page of the Pacific University website. If you're interested in joining along on our Year of Wellness in Action, we have resources posted. There are events going on that are being facilitated by the Tom McCall Forum to talk about justice and everything related to voting and understanding politics and government and talking through some of those hard issues that we'll be debating over the couple months as we lead into election season. Then, of course, we have to think about mental health, especially during midterm time. So we're focusing on mental health literacy during November and December. And, that will encompass everything from understanding mental health disorders to ways to support people that have mental health disorders, maybe self-care. It's all a personal journey. So however anyone wants to pursue learning more, we're encouraging it and trying to provide resources and a forum for people to talk about things that maybe they haven't felt comfortable talking about in the past. And that's where our sense of community, I think, is really going to be heightened. January, February, we'll be focusing on intellectual health. What does that mean? Whatever you want it to mean. I am giving myself permission to read poetry every day for 21 days because I've rarely given myself permission to read something like that for fun. Some people might focus on financial health. We're going to be curating a collection of Pacific writers so that we can share all of the knowledge that our community has already put down in print or podcasts or films, those sorts of things. And we'll have that up to stimulate intellectual curiosity, basically. And then we can't have a wellness challenge if we don't at least talk about physical health at some point. So fortunately, we have a wonderful volunteer, Amy Tracewell, is going to help lead our physical health theme in March and April. And for some of us, like me, who now simply has had a lot of breakfast, lunches, and dinners in the last 3 months, will probably be a weight loss. Others, it could be focused on your blood pressure. It could be understanding a specific condition that maybe a family member has that impairs physical health. It's a personal journey. There's no prescription for any of this. So that's where we're at right now. And I just want to shout out a couple new programs, but I would be remiss if I didn't introduce you to these two amazing gentlemen. We have Avery Richardson from the class of 2017 and Mitchell Welch from the class of 2021. They were both Pacific University football players, and they both are Fulbright scholars who just left last week to Europe for their year that's being funded abroad. And we're incredibly proud of them. We are focused on thinking about ways that we can continue to change the world, and you'll see that in the themes of some of our newer programs. SLAM, sports, leadership, and management is both a major and a minor in the College of Arts and Sciences. We just launched our first cohort in a Master of Nonprofit Leadership, and we're moving our MSW, our Master of Social Work program, that currently and for the last several years resided in Eugene. They're moving to Forest Grove, starting with the incoming cohort next year. And if you haven't met Dr. Mark Williams, I'm sure you will because he's absolutely everywhere. I think he and I have a competition going who can be in the most places in a given week. Dr. Williams is our new director of the Center for Entrepreneurship, Sports, and Entertainment in the College of Business. He also plays a role as our DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer in our athletics program. And I'm not quite sure that officer is his title, but he plays the lead role in facilitating our work that we need to do in the area of DEI and athletics. And then he's also working with Narte Rodriguez, our Vice President of Student Affairs and Executive Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Mark comes to us, Dr. Williams, with, he calls himself a practitioner. He was a Vice President of Marketing for Foot Locker, Champ Sports, and one more that I'm forgetting, one of the other ones. Reebok. I didn't forget that. And he was actually the first marketer to sign an entertainer to a footwear or apparel label. He raised billions of dollars for the athletic industry. So he's a true practitioner of business. He also has been named one of the 100 most influential Black men or Blacks in the world by Core magazine. He has just a wealth of experience, and we actually were introduced to him at an event that I just happened to be at back at the end of March, where Beyonce's father, Dr. Matthew Knowles, who's one of Dr. Williams' mentors, brought him to campus, and they put on an event for our students. That was just the most incredible experience. So he is a go-getter. He has one of the few people who have developed curricula for esports marketing. I had no idea when my kids played video games that behind the computer they were being bombarded with ads. You know, that lamp that they probably aren't looking at lamps, but I hope that they're bombarded with ads for why you should attend Pacific University sometime in the future. So we'll be looking at esports marketing programs. Maybe someday we'll even have esports varsity athletics. We're not quite there yet, but we have to at least be thinking about these things. So we're very excited. He and his wife, Pedro, actually live in the house that's right over behind where we have our tailgate on campus. By the way, the kickers' parents have the tiki bar in the tailgate, and they have Mai Tais every week. So if you walk around, you'll meet Declan's parents. We were just absolutely blessed to be able to bring former Congressman Les Aucoin's papers and collections to our campus. It was curated by an outside specialist who pulls all of these. She actually just made sense of boxes and boxes and boxes of memorabilia from former Congressman Aucoin's time when he was in office. And we celebrated with a ribbon cutting in the library a week ago Monday. The weeks are starting to flow together. And not only were we able to raise funds to support that pretty intricate work and extensive work, but also we now have an endowment to bring the Les Aucoin Speaker Series to life. And it will focus on bringing speakers who talk about human rights and activism to our campus. And particularly in speakers who can talk about indigenous populations and Native American rights. Yes.
Are those going to be open to the community or just for the kids?
No, they'll be open to the community. Yeah, I'm sure we'll do things for the kids, but something like this will definitely be open to the community. We didn't open this to the community because it was a capacity issue, quite frankly. And then, the night after that, last Tuesday, we welcomed Dr. Richard Lapchick, another human rights activist, to our campus who discussed the power of using sports to share your voice and activism and change the world. And it was a pretty incredible evening because, well, this wasn't the incredible part. I started it with a little, welcome everybody, but I shared a quote from Les Aucoin that we had shared the night before. And unbeknownst to me, Dr. Williams, Mark Williams, who brought Dr. Lapchick to campus, another one of his mentors, he had asked Adam Silver, the commissioner of the MBA, to record a video for Dr. Lapchick because they're very close friends. But what I didn't know is Adam Silver actually worked for Les Aucoin. So I started off the night with a quote about Les Aucoin, and we ended with a video I had no idea was going to happen from Adam Silver, who he ends with a nod to Les Coyle, who is a Pacific alumnus, by the way. I left that part out. So that has been my whole life. My whole life has been 6 degrees of Pacific, and things just always seem to come full circle in magical ways. And that was just an incredible night. Football game was equally incredible, though, I have to say. Speaking of football game and boxer spirit, we have 54% of our first-year students are athletes. This picture right here are all of our athletes. There were, Andrea, 600, is that right? We have about 600 student athletes at Pacific right now. Our athletic director, Keith Buckley, you all know him as our previous football coach. He brought all of the students together, all the student athletes and the coaches together for kind of a rally, right, during orientation. And here they all are. This has never happened before. And he challenged them to support each other. You should support the other teams. So here's a video at the women's volleyball game of our students. They completely build the students. That's the football team right there. It's incredible. And we're seeing this. We saw it at women's soccer, which in the past, I heard from the students, nobody came to our games. And now we have this reinvigorated energy around being together again, cheering each other on, celebrating, learning from each other. All of it. Just boxer spirit is just boom, boom, boom. Okay, here's the bad news, which I really don't want to talk about. Thank you, Tim. You did it for me. There were less babies born after 9/11. So the applicant pool is going to hit what we're calling the demographic cliff in 2025. We're in really good shape right now. We're kind of in this, golden age where we still have a significant population we can drop on, but that's only for a couple more years. And the undergraduate enrollment pre-COVID had decreased 9% between fall of 2009 and fall of 2020. But then it decreased another 9.4% during the pandemic. So we have fewer babies being born, and of the kids that are going to school now, right? Fewer of them are even thinking about college, and it doesn't help when you turn the news on and every college is lumped together as having bloated administrations and it's a waste of money to go to college, which we know is not true. We know the value of liberal arts education in particular, and in particular at Pacific University, we've raised the social mobility. I mean, I'm a case in point. I was a kid who lived in a cabin in Alaska with no running water all through this. And here I am as the president. And it's all because of my Pacific experience. So we're going to keep telling people about that. And we're going to put together a plan to do it in a very strategic and loud and impactful way, whether it's while students are playing video games or while parents are searching online for something and they had no idea. Well, they don't know yet that they're thinking about whether kids should go to college, but the creepy analytics already know that. We're going to tap into those resources. And then there's a whole bunch of other depressing stats, but I'm a dwell on possibility person. And then the truth is we have far more competitors. Even in areas that at one point we were the only game in town with health professions. There's a new optometry school opening up in Utah. Utah is a state that we used to draw every future optometrist pretty much came to Pacific. Well, now they're probably not because they can go to school in their own states and one can live at home. So we're going to have to be nimble in thinking about what is the value of a degree from Pacific and why should students be coming here? And health professions now are the fastest growing segment of the educational industry. Everybody's adding health professions. You've seen it happen in Oregon. We were the only PT program forever, and now we have 3 other competitors. So we need to be prepared for that. This is our total enrollment trend over the last 10 years. And you can see we peaked actually here in fall of 2018. We had 4,000 total students, about a 50% split between undergraduates and graduates. We have pretty much no other competitor that has a demographic like we do. We don't fit into a common mold. That's why rankings, we brag about them when they look good, but really the rankings don't mean a whole lot for Pacific because we're not in the same category as Linfield or Lewis and Clark or Willamette. But we don't look exactly like Creighton, but we're almost closer to a Creighton model in Nebraska than we are to any of our competitors in the Pacific Northwest. So here's where we are. We're in 2021, we were down to about 3,700 students. This year fall, we dropped 173 in total enrollment. So we're at about 3,500, 3,600 students. 173 is a big jump for us. And the big surprise is that it wasn't in our normal programs where we see challenges with enrollment. As you heard, our fourth grade undergraduate population, they were right on the mark. In fact, the transfer students, they were higher than what they had been budgeted for. So the College of Arts and Science is doing fabulous. Where we took a huge hit was in the College of Health Professions and primarily in the School of Pharmacy. Pharmacy applications across the nation over the last 5 years have dropped 58%. But the jobs have increased exponentially because people are leaving the field of pharmacy. And it makes complete sense to me. I think going to the pharmacist in the way that a pharmacist has to deal with people as they stand behind the counter is just like the gate agents for a major airline after a 3-day blizzard. People are crappy. They don't understand. They just want you to fix their problem right then. And the pharmacists don't have the staff support. So they're doing absolutely everything, including ringing up the patient. And then, by the way, I'm going to do a quick COVID test and 10 vaccines in the next half hour. And I don't get a lunch break. So right now, it's just an industry problem that we know is not going to be permanent because we're getting older, and the way that we're going to sustain our lives quite often is through pharmaceutical innovation. So there's going to be a demand and a need for pharmacists. But we have to focus on what makes us unique at Pacific. And really what's changing is the demand is increasing for hospital-based pharmacists, not so much the community-based, the CVS or the Walgreens type settings. And we have expertise on our faculty. We just haven't had to share that message really. We haven't had to spend time advertising because we didn't realize that pharmacy was going to drop. So COVID really impacted the profession, and we just have to help them get along until we get back up where we need to be. The other area that was surprising and is impactful because, as you can imagine, the pharmacy students pay a pretty high tuition, and we don't give as many scholarships, we don't discount in the health professions like we do the undergraduate. So the budget hit was felt much stronger when you missed your target with pharmacy. College of Optometry, my beloved program, they had a retention problem last year. The students that came in were just not prepared for the rigor of a 4-year optometric degree program. And they lost far more students than they normally do for academic reasons. So that's why we're down. But it's not doom and gloom. We just have to keep our eye on it and not watch it, but actually intervene. So what we found is that we are incredibly good at converting interested people to students. We do it actually better than any of our competitors in the Northwest. Our yield, if a student applies, 18% will show up for orientation. Our next closest competitor is Lewis and Clark at 17%, and then it drops off to the 12% for all the other schools. So if we can get more people interested in Pacific actually apply, and we let our admissions people do their job, we will have no problem. We just have to not be the best kept secret any longer. And we need to make sure that people know about us, and we make it easy to apply. Because we have a team that is very one-on-one with interacting with these applicants. I'm making it on time. I'm way over. So let's talk about what's next. As I mentioned, I'm in the middle of a listening tour, and I'm hearing what people want me to know. And and share however they're comfortable sharing their thoughts and their experiences. And then when we come back in January after our winter break, we're going to jump right into strategic planning that will be led by a consultant. And we are going to dwell on possibility. We're going to think about all of the ways that we can send our message out into the world so people understand why would you pick Pacific over maybe somewhere that you would pay a little bit less. What is that student experience about? How can we focus on our people again? The people that work here, teach here, come in and enjoy athletic events like that football game here. And also ways that we should be out working with our community partners and increasing our community partnership. That was so much fun. And I know I actually picked, my husband was really disappointed in me in the car I picked as President's Choice. But I was told, pick the car that a student would most likely want. Well, all those fancy cars, they might want it, but it's not realistic. They couldn't afford it. So I thought we could fit a lot of students in this car to go to a football game. The problem is that car, it didn't run very well. And so he was so worried he was going to overheat. And he had the look of shock on his face when I went up and said, yeah, I picked the car as the President's Choice. Oh my gosh. All the better, because I believe in the underdogs. So amazing event. We are just so proud and thrilled to partner with the Rotary to help facilitate this event and to continue to showcase all the work you do on our campus. And we're incredibly grateful for all of the scholarships and the student support that you provide and providing an engaging place for our employees. I know personally as a previous member of this club. So real quick, what's coming up? We're going to sign a MOU with the Oregon National Nonprofit Organization. They're giving us a lot of students for our new master's degree. That'll be October 11th. We are talking about accessibility on campus. You couldn't have teed me off better, Jimmy. I borrowed one of our students' wheelchairs and I tried to navigate my way around campus, and that was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So I'm just singing from the top of the roof that we are going to do something about accessibility, including this building. We cannot put an elevator in this building. So that means we're going to have to add an annex out here. And that's fine. I'm going to have to raise some money to do that. But we can bring all of these student support things to campus. We can move the student health center, the student counseling center, which in a wheelchair is one of the most arduous tracks to get to. And we can bring them to the heart of campus and put them in this UC annex that will have an elevator. It will have a way to walk across and get to this floor and to the bottom floor without going all the way around in the rain. And right now, our mailroom's downstairs. That's impossible for our students who have accessibility issues. So we've got some kind of physical challenges. I have big ideas about other areas. I want to tap into the fact that so many of our exercise science students also like to do ceramics. So we should have beautiful studio arts for them to practice their craft. Just like we do for our students that want to play the trombone in our amazing tailor-made facilities. So I want to invest in fine arts, theatrical arts, studio arts. We are definitely still focused on bringing engineering to Pacific in some capacity. We're going to need a new building, and in my mind, that's a way to get a science building. Because quite frankly, a lot of the science facilities in high schools, believe it or not, in high schools are better than they are here at Pacific. And to me, partnering with companies and individuals that engineering is their passion is a pathway to a new science building. We're thinking about our strengths from the engineering perspective, so biomedical engineering, environmental and sustainability, environmental engineering, and computer science engineering. We also are talking about ways to continue our mission to provide access to education for everyone, and that includes our students that are neurodivergent in all those different ways, whether they're on the spectrum, whether they have extreme anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress syndrome, TBI. we could do a better job of supporting those students because that would help us retain them. And it would be a pathway to our graduate program. So we're thinking about creative ways, right, Amy? We're partnering on perhaps developing unique programs that include transforming our undergraduate education in more universal design so that we can support those students. All right, I think I'm over time. So any questions? There's so much more I could share, but obviously I was restricted. So I'll come back. You'll have me. Yeah.
Your last comment was very appropriate for the question I was going to ask you. And
right.
Yesterday in the news, they were talking about anxiety and having your healthcare professionals, make sure that they're screening for that. And I was curious whether that is something you're seeing in regards to the students and testing them and making sure that they're able to come out of COVID and be successful.
Yeah, probably the number one thing that administrators in education talk about right now at every level is the mental health stress that our students are under and that they now are experiencing as a result of COVID and going through a time where every day something changed. They had no idea what was going to happen next. And we've increased our counselors, we've increased counseling hours, but they're just exhausted. Absolutely. It's a never-ending demand, and I'm sure you're seeing it in K through 12 as well. It's important. We do have the School of Graduate Psychology. We now are putting interns in our Student Counseling Center. As I mentioned, I really would love to bring that to the heart of campus so it's easier for students to get to them and be a patient. Faculty were doing trainings on identifying or being able to talk to students that are in distress, but we're finding we can't do enough. It's really hard to keep up with. The number of students that have received accommodations for anxiety disorders, they need extended testing time or segregated testing, those sorts of things, that it's gone up exponentially. So we're doing everything we can to keep up, but it's one of those big picture challenges that is, I saw it happening before the pandemic. It's just the pandemic has just made it definitely worse. The good thing is we're comfortable talking about it. So there's that. Yes.
I just love your spirit and the spirit you're bringing to the office and all the ideas. And they really do line up with Rotary International. I want to extend an invitation to invite you to come back and join the club. And I'm putting
Amy's working on ideas.
Well, we're getting the corporate structure. She's going to be in it.
Excellent. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, did you choose mental health for November, December because of politics in November? Or?
Well, I think y'all get together when I say things. That's one of them, The one thing I'm very proud of is our students vote at a much higher rate than the general population, and that's incredible. That they've understood that they can use their voice for change and for good. So, whatever way that means to each and every one.
You have two factoids that I think tell the civic story. One is that 40% of our students participate in varsity sport.
Yeah,
and that's over the top. Nobody else is close. And the other is we got 2 football players and 1 Fulbrights.
Yep.
You could pick University of Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame, and none of them have 2 football players got Fulbright scholarships. We have students who happen to be athletes.
Yep, they're students first. And those are 2 of the most amazing gentlemen I've ever met. Very fun to meet them. That was in Southern California. They came to the Chapman game.
Well, Tim, thank you for helping choose our new president.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for bringing me home. People ask, what is it like? And I can't even describe it. I mean, I hear my voice. It really feels like I've come. Thank you all.